So you can start kind of introduce yourself to Coach Rob and what do you understand about Olympics program, and then he will be able to guide you, and he Kainath will be working with our other resources, assistant teachers, salespeople, and everything to develop the program, right? So so she is our eyes and ears on the ground, Coach. So Kainath, you can start. Maybe
yes,
you give the exact pronunciation to Coach. Coach is very good at pronouncing things right.
yes, sir.
Okay, you can start.
Of course, sir.
Okay, go get some to eat.
Well, hello, sir. I'm Kainath Sandhu.
Yeah.
And okay,
Morning.
so sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So I'm an art student. I'm a college student, and I'm in the 3rd year of my program. And I'm a fine art student in the applied arts department. So I basically work with poster designing and companies and logos, branding, all that stuff. And
Mhm.
I other than that, I also do freelance stuff. Like
Okay.
I work for album arts, musicians for their
All right.
illustrations,
Okay.
and that's basically what I do most of the time. And
Mhm.
I'm also a part-time musician, so I sometimes perform music.
Okay. This is
Yes,
good.
sir.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very active young lady. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Great.
And
So what brings you to this? Like this
well, it's all the courtesy of Sam, sir. He has introduced me to this program, and
okay.
I'm basically I have just joined this. I have got to know about this just yesterday. So
Okay. Oh,
since
all right.
then, yeah. So
Yeah.
since then, I'm just looking through what Work for Canada is, what this program is about, and then what this Olympics
Mhm.
interview session is about. And
Yeah.
I just read about it. So just shared it with me,
Hmm.
and I got the basic understanding for what it's about. And I'm currently working on like understanding more as to how we will work together and what
Okay.
exactly we need to do. Yep.
Mhm.
Coach, what I am trying to do for your understanding is that, so we have an assistant teacher who will deliver our curriculum. So we will have
Yeah.
one more layer based on your recommendation yesterday to support that student, right, to deliver the program, and support
Yeah.
our sales team who have an understanding about Canada and commitment to Canada and commitment to art. And eventually she will be here for the bigger internship directly working under you and me under a Teach for Canada program and Mr. Alphonse program on CR Dreams when we are piloting it in Kettle Point. So we can expect, I am expecting her to be in Kettle Point like in working with our students, managing the project with or without Nike funding, with or without anybody's funding. Okay, so basically working for Teach for Canada. So she will be, I will be applying for her travel and visa and everything, and I'm expecting her to be here immediately after the snow is blown away, right? By April, right?
Yeah, the snow. Yeah.
Hopefully, because she knows very well about Al, and she has worked in
Mhm.
LBA
Okay, sir.
program. She was in couple of years back, kind of, right? She
Yes,
was
in 2019. Yes.
2019. She was in Iowa. So
Oh,
that
okay.
winter, you were there in winter, correct?
Yes, sir. December.
December. So she is okay to handle winter, right?
Yes,
Oh, we
so
have heat here. Yeah, we'll keep a
she will
fire
be,
burning.
yeah, she will be managing. She will be, so if we need to pull up resources like Donna or anybody to work
Yeah.
on our program, she will be the person who can convert our ideas to a go-getter like Donna, right? I don't want to deal with Donna, right?
Yeah,
I'm kidding, right?
yeah,
But she will
yeah,
be
yeah,
working under her and developing
yeah.
maybe recording your video and things like that, because we need to do the, it's not only the Canadian program, all those Canada related health and wellness program, we will move into, she will be our intern, all three of us, right? Al for CR Dreams, for you right now, Canadian program, then the pilot program, and for me, all my my jobs which I don't want to deal with, she will handle.
Oh, really? Okay. You'll just find something else to do.
Yes, yes. So that is the
Yeah.
thing. So you can introduce what we are expecting. Say, from when we are looking at others or our students, they are all coming from different angles. They have limited knowledge about our Olympics or snow and all those things. So how will, if you were, so like, how will you introduce the program? How will you inspire the person? So that is what you can tell us. Then we are recording, she will look into that, and that she will put into a collateral and things like that. So you can start. So your experience, what should be our students be doing? What should I be doing? What should Kenneth should be doing? What should others be doing? When you bring in that focus of Olympics, what should we be observing? Kenneth, like he in our last meeting, he made an amazing improvement. It changed my my thinking about this particular program. He introduced me to a movie, right? So that is a good point to start, right? And like, so you can start, Coach.
Yeah. Okay. Picking up from our last meeting, Chum, of course, you're bringing someone new into the picture here, right? So, in essence, we're sort of all new at this in a certain way, right? So we're just trying to come up with the best formulation of putting this together, developing a program, and also presenting it through the process that we're developing right now, which we haven't really totally developed. So we're in that process, and I think we're trying to bring this together and motivate people into the program. So I think motivation is a big key that we have to work on with presenting this, along with marketing and sales and making sure people understand what it is we're doing and possible funding organizations. We have to present the right message to them as well. I think in our last meeting, what was kind of interesting is to bring in the spirit of the Winter Olympics, because a lot of people, as we discussed, some of the students may not even be aware of what the Winter Olympics is. They've seen Summer Olympics, but they're not too sure about winter, with all the snow and all the ice and all these different sports that they don't really see factoring into their sports programs. There's a lot of countries out there that have no snow, and they're not even in the Olympic Games in the wintertime. But it doesn't mean that they're not interested in it. So this is important, that we can take an interest in I think other types of sports that are not directly related to us, right? So I find myself looking at other sports that I don't play. I've never grown up playing myself, but I find them fascinating to watch as a fan. So I'm a fan of a lot of different sports, whether it's watching cricket for the first time, like I find it a fascinating game. I like watching it, like once you start watching it and focus your mind and attention to a sport, you'll find some really kind of interesting connections that you never thought you had. So in other words, we're also giving students a chance to explore something new. You know what I mean? That may not be directly in their focus, right? So I think it's important that we experience as many different things in life as we can sometimes, right? That and that's what learning is all about, I believe. And I think what I started out with with sharing with our discussion the last time was a particular movie that was it was called, I don't know if you've seen it, but I suggest that you do watch it. It's great fun and entertainment, but it's also based on a true story. So if you're looking at a particular country that is competing in the Winter Olympics, picture a country that is very hot, very warm. It's an island. It's never seen snow. The only ice it's ever seen was the ice cubes, that they put in their drinks. Was the only thing they've ever seen, right? So the small country by the name of Jamaica. So we've all heard where Jamaica is. There were these group of young men, Jamaican guys, that were watching the Winter Olympics, and they really got kind of hooked on the bobsled team, which is where they get into this kind of like this vessel, and it goes down this track at 120 miles an hour, like crazy, twists and turns and stuff. And they decided that they wanted to try this sport, because they really liked it. It was a 4-man bobsled team, right? And they decided that they were going to practice it. They were going to do it, but there was no snow. There was nothing. So, anyways, there's a movie called Cool Running. Okay, it was made in early 1990s, and it's based on the true story of these guys actually coming from Jamaica, practicing, and I don't know what they were practicing in, going down water slides and different things like that. They had nothing to do with snow. They eventually became very, very good at it, and I mean, you got to watch the movie to see what it's all about and the transformation they made. But they did make it to the Olympics. So that Olympics was the 1988 Olympics in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So these guys have a remarkable story. It's a great story for entertainment and inspiration and perseverance and all that. I think it really capitalizes on what the spirit of the Olympics really is. And I suggest that you watch that movie just to get some insight into something that made no sense in the beginning. Their own country laughed at them. They offered them zero funding because they thought they were smoking too much weed, like all the time. They had visions of attending the Olympics, which was just it was ludicrous because nobody ever from Jamaica had ever done that. So it's not possible, is what they were saying, right? So, anyways, the movie's quite an entertaining movie based on the true stories, and there's a lot of research you can do on the true story of the Jamaican bobsled team. There's tons of stuff on YouTube and all kinds of I don't know, little short documentaries and all kinds of different things outside of the movie, right? So it's a very, very inspiring. I mean, they started out as the joke of the Olympics, and they turned out to be the heroes of the Olympics. So they embodied the entire spirit of what the Olympics actually meant. So even countries that weren't from Jamaica, that were in the sports and stuff, they were all cheering for this team, right? And they couldn't understand why the whole world was cheering for this Jamaican bobsled team, right? They really, the whole country around the world, they were tuning in to check these guys out, and to make sure that they would do well, right? So it was quite remarkable, because I remember watching it on TV too, and I still feel that kind of excitement, all these years later. It's really really strange, that how certain things like this can stay with you for your entire lifetime. So I think it's a good way to introduce what we're doing. I think people at Nike and whatever else funding bodies that we deal with we'll get a big kick out of that, and we'll enjoy it. I really do believe that, and we can base the program sort of kick-started on that note. I think that would be a really good way to bring this all into play, to motivate students today that really are kind of going, well, the Olympics, yeah, well, we don't really watch it, we don't really, well, maybe we'll look at it. But if you start them off with a movie and entertainment, I mean, who doesn't like a good movie and some entertainment, right, to get things going? So that's kind of how I see we we kickstarted. So, any comments there, Shyam?
Yeah, like exactly. So that in fact, so I was seeing this from a technical aspect as a teacher for this particular program, until and unless coach introduced me to this movie, right? So immediately after last meeting, I rented the movie from Amazon. I watched it in one stretch, right? So then I got the spirit of, so if I am taking the class now, I will definitely use the things which International Olympic Association want to bring to our classroom is the idea of team building, perseverance, the competition spirit. So those are the values they want to bring into our class. What better? So I was looking at the content, I was writing as a teacher, creating the lesson plan and everything. But after watching the movie, it became very clear, this is the lesson plan. This is itself the whole thing, right? Whole what we are trying to say, right? So I watched it, it turned my everything. That is when I realized that, okay, I need to bring in somebody like who have an art background, who will understand this, so that convert this idea into a lesson plan. So this lesson plan cannot be written or introduced by somebody like me, because I am not an artist, right? I come from a logical background, right? Looking at things from and connecting it to math. And I was looking at, if I were introducing this program in my class, I will talk to about, oh guys, this is almost like our math thing, right? This is like you write American math contest, then you go in, you qualify, you go to AIME, then you go to USMO. My class would have been super boring, right? But if you introduce this in a different manner, then bring back the students to the spirit, then they will, what is our ultimate object? The objective is to introduce the spirit of Olympics and introduce the students to be, remember these are younger students, middle school students and elementary students, and I am always scared about elementary students, right? They ask a lot of questions, so how will you teach? So this is the best way to introduce them to the spirit of Olympics, and get them, say, then ask them to imagine one of these bobsled team member is coming to your classroom. What are the questions you are going to ask them, right? So then it is not only about, are you eating enough protein when your diet plan? No, you're also like, they are drinking, if you watch the movie, they are drinking beer. And there is a beautiful scene in one of their coaches telling who will be the driver, because in bobsled team, this is a 4-member team, just like our Olympics. Like in a 4-member team, there should be a driver, and there should be, each positions are very clear. So when he was deciding about the thing, like, he comes and say that who should be the driver. He writes it, he says in 1 or 2 sentences, beautiful, says that, okay, who is thinking about team members, who will, so many things are there. So many values which Mathematical Association is trying to implement through Math Olympics program. Our program is also Olympics, right? You qualify for AIME or AMC, American Math Contest, then you qualify for AIME, which is invitation only math challenge. Then you write that is going to happen now. After that, you get qualified for USMO, which is US Olympics team selection. Then you qualify that, and then you move on to MOP, as we call it, Math Olympics program, which happens that is a training camp actually in the thing. It happens in Carnegie Mellon in the United States, right? We invite 20 students worldwide to come to Carnegie Mellon. So 600,000 students participate in AMC, 20 students reach MOP, right? It is an exciting thing. If I were teaching this class, I will be super boring, right? I will not be talking about bobsled team. I'll be talking about amazing math minds whom I encountered in my last 5-6 years of working at the MOP level, and 10-15 years working with MA at different level. So you'll be amazed. There is no much difference like MOP and mop in Carnegie Mellon and in the bobsled team practicing in sand in Jamaica. There's beautiful scenes. Everything remains the same, but your approach and things like that, how will you teach the class as educators? So that is where I thought that this idea of introducing it to this and talking in a different manner, right? So this will bring the students not only, otherwise I will say that, guys, you come to this class, you will get a certificate. If your questions are selected, you will get a certificate from International Olympics Committee. You will get a tracksuit from Lululemon, right? So my approach would have been that, but now after talking with coach and understanding, watching the movie, if I am writing the lesson plan, I will completely drop my old plan and have a new plan. So, but now I'm thinking about kind of as a person who can help and the sales team will also need to excite students with these kind of ideas. And the marketing team, including myself, should go to Nike because they are inviting us to go and meet with them mid-March. So when I'm for funding our program, so when I'm going there, I cannot talk like a math genius, then our sale will not happen, right? It should be like talk like coach. So that is what I am trying to learn. Am I making sense, coach?
Yeah, absolutely. You're making sense. One thing I was going to add there, John, is I was doing some, preliminary research, but we'll have to delve into it a little deeper as I go along here. We talked about this, about Olympic athletes, and I would say a good 80 to 90% of Olympic athletes are university educated. They are students themselves of major universities around the world. So highly educated. It's one of those kind of sports that seems to attract that, right? But I am sure there are math students and science students, that are in the Olympics. I'm sure there are probably hundreds of them. Okay, but we just haven't heard from them. You know what I mean? So if we can track down some of them, you know what I mean? Because they're out there. I'm sure they are, and they would be more than willing to offer some suggestions or some story of their life, you know what I mean, and how education and sport, how they dealt with that, especially at a highly competitive level. They were competing for good marks in university or getting their degree, along with training for the Olympics. I mean, can you imagine the schedule and the regime they were on? You know what I mean, to stay that disciplined and that focused to do two things, so I think there's a lot of stories out there that these people would be willing to share with us. And these are the kind of things that Nike likes, you know what I mean? Because they're athletics too as well. How do we bring athletics into academics? You know what I mean? They're very interested in that approach, right? And it's kind of the mind, body, spirit, right? It's the connection. It's mind and body. The strong body creates a strong mind, vice versa, and then you get a strong spirit and you get good emotions, and you have to deal with all of that. So a tremendous amount of preparation and training goes into becoming an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, Alphonse is joining. We can continue. He's there.
Yeah. So that was my view on it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It might be well worth looking into, because when you're talking about middle school and you're talking about elementary school, I mean, these kids, they need to be entertained somewhat. We're living in a society that we have to have a little bit of a wow factor, right? We have to say, wow, that was really good.
We will let Alphonse in. Hey, Al, good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Kainat is also here, Adam's sister. She is going to intern in this program.
How are you?
Yeah.
I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, she can handle cold, Al, right? The Canadian cold, she can handle, and she can handle you and me, right? So that is a big advantage. Yeah, she will be coming to take over. I mean, work with. So when we launch our program, the pilot in Kettle Point, she will come over here as our intern.
Okay.
Okay, so we can continue. While we have been discussing and now about 30 minutes about our Canadian Olympic School program, because we are Canadians, we don't necessarily like Americans, right? You know, right, Coach? Right. You know.
What? No. What did the Americans do to us?
Yeah, there
I
are a
just
lot
don't,
of bad press for